Would I be nervous about a Corey Crawford or a Carey Price? Yes. I'd be more nervous about Darcy Kemper. I'd be more nervous about Connor Hellebuck. And in a short series, a 5-game series, there's a real risk here that a team can win that's not the better team.
Well, the NHL PA's executive board, they have voted to authorize further negotiations with the NHL on that 24-team return to play format. What does that mean? What decisions are still to come? Well, that's why we have you here on Hockey Central at Home. I'm Caroline Cameron alongside Brian Burke. Brian, was this vote that finished Friday night kind of a no-brainer for the NHLPA?
Yeah, I think for two reasons, Carolyn. I think first off, I think the players legitimately want to play. I think they really want to get back at it. I think they understand the lost revenue of the lost games, of the last 15% of the season and going forward. And I think they understand there'd be a big PR hit if they voted not to play. So I was pretty certain of this yesterday. I'm not surprised.
So there's still a lot of details that obviously need to be figured out. And Chris Johnston, he has a good article right now on sportsnet.ca. Really, all that's been figured out and voted on is the top 4 teams in each conference get buys. The remaining 16 teams play a best of 5 play-in. So there's many opinions, whether you're a fan, whether you're an executive, whether you're a player. Maybe because of your background, let's start at the executive level. What would your impressions of this plan be?
Well, it's not perfect, and it's easy to attack anything that's not perfect. But I think considering what we're facing, and again, I've said this before on the radio, it's not a lunar landscape because men have walked on the moon. It's a Martian landscape. We have never dealt with this situation before. And I think the league is doing an excellent job here with this proposal. Now, I have grave doubts about our ability to handle that many teams in a playoff. But if they can do it and the science catches up with us by the time we start playing, great. I don't think testing's accurate enough yet, and I don't think there's enough of it. I think 24 teams might be too many, but if they can pull us off, fantastic.
Well, the thing too is if you're an executive, if you're a GM, you want to see it played. You want to see the season finish. But as a GM, especially say if you're in Pittsburgh or Edmonton, when you look at those play-in rounds, I mean, Pittsburgh, they'd be facing off against Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens. Edmonton, who are 11 points ahead of the Chicago Blackhawks, would be up against all of their veterans. Is that in the back of your mind, or is that one of those things too, that this is a different world, so stop complaining?
Yeah, I mean, yes, when someone argues that, Chris Letang said that, okay, and I respect Chris Letang. That's his commentary. It's true that they're facing a goaltender who's capable of taking them out, and a shorter series is always riskier, because you're in your thought process, especially with home and away games, you're thinking we steal one in their building. The problem is they're not going to be in anyone's building. They're going to be in 2 hub sites. So would I be nervous about a Corey Crawford or a Carey Price? Yes. I'd be more nervous about Darcy Kemper. I'd be more nervous about Connor Hellebuck. And in a short series, a 5-game series, there's a real risk here that a team can win that's not the better team behind good goaltending and special teams. That being said, if that's the choice or not play, guess what? We're all going to vote to play.
Isn't that what's kind of fun too, especially considering they haven't decided and they need to still figure out if it would then be a reseeding format or a bracket format? Is that isn't really anyone's cup?
Well, yes. And I think one of the reasons we got rid of reseeding was it produced some horrible travel. So you'd have, like one year, I think Hartford had to play LA in the second round or third round, whatever. So it produced some horrible travel results. There's none of that here. So they should reseed after every round. You should get the team that finished with the highest position should get the weakest opponent every time they play. The league is in love with brackets. This came in a few years ago, and I don't think it's the most equitable system. But again, in a standard year, you can get some travel difficulties if you reseed. Not this year. They should reseed after each round.
So, Brian, if you were in the head office right now, and this is the vote that came down on Friday night, as mentioned, what would you want to see happen from here on out?
Well, I like the concept that the 1 through 4 seeds are going to play a round robin, so they're not going into the playoffs cold. I think it would really be inequitable if you're a Boston to not play at all and then play a team that just won a best of 5 playoff series. So that's good. I'm not sold on reseeding based on that tournament. I think that makes the regular season kind of meaningless. So I think if you're Boston, you should be the first seed, even if you go 0-3 in those games. But that's a minor detail to me. If they use that to seed teams, fine. Again, a minor detail. I think you're going to see some really exciting games right out of the gate. It'll be weird with having no fans, or if they allow by then socially distanced fans. Like I got an email from a fan that said, "You keep talking about no fans. Why can't they have 3,000 fans?" Or his configuration was 6,000 fans by going 6 feet apart all through the building. Whatever format it's going to be, it's not going to look right. I think the league has the player tracking stuff ready to go, so they can give the broadcast viewer a better picture of what's going on the ice. I think they can mic more players, mic some coaches, mic some officials, put in a 7-second delay, because a lot of that stuff isn't family oriented. But I think we can show viewers a different side of the game and more of the game. And I think the league's initiative here in leadership and getting the game back on the ice has been terrific.
I guess this changes everyone's perspective. I don't just mean in the NHL, but just around the world with what everyone's going through personally and together. But in that sense, you also think this is a little bit of an opportunity for the NHL to perhaps change things moving forward. Couldn't that be the case?
Yeah, I think so. Look, we're not coming back to the same world that we left. It's not a light switch on a wall. We've got to solve the vaccine issue, or we're not going to have people in the buildings in great numbers. And even when we solve the vaccine issue, how do I know the person next to me has been vaccinated, even if I have been? But we will get back. It's going to take a while. We will get back. There's going to be significant financial harm to the industry short term. So that's why getting the games back on TV, getting the product back out there is so important. But we will come back. It's a great sport. Our fans love the sport, and we will come back. But it's going to take a while.
I know. I'm sick of talking about possible playoff formats. I just want to talk about hockey and see hockey.
Yes, same here. Same here. Sign me up.
I saw Patrick Laine yesterday in an interview. He was asked how he thinks he'll be returning to play if and when the NHL returns this season and this summer. And he said that he thinks he's going to be awful. He thinks his hockey is going to be awful. As a former executive and GM, would that not be one of your number one concerns right now, is figuring out how to make sure that these athletes are ready if and when they come back?
Well, I don't think you're going to see great hockey right out of the gate. I think you'll see great effort and intensity right out of the gate. And the teams may not execute properly or like they would in midseason form, but they're still going to provide pretty good hockey, and they're going to be evenly matched. So if you've got one team who's a little rusty against another team who's a little rusty, usually you get a good result. It's not like one team's good and one team's bad. I think Patrick Laine is a very self-deprecating guy, and he likes to have a little fun with himself, so I think he's exaggerating. But I also think training camp is important to him, and he probably is a little rusty. So the big issue here will be the Swedes, because they haven't been locked down. They've been skating. We have to see what the testing protocol is for them, because they have been exposed. It's the highest death rate in Europe, and they have been skating. So they probably have a little bit of an edge coming back.
Speaking of Swedes, I can't help but look around your home office there. Can you tell me what's behind you?
Oh, that's a couple days after they retired, I got a FedEx package from the Twins, and there's a nice note on the back of numbers of each of them, and it's the only sweater I have mounted in my house is the one from the Twins. Thanks for making our journey possible. So, yeah, that was thoughtful of them, and I did not ask them to send anything. It just showed up at my doorstep. But that's the kind of kids they are. Well, they're not kids anymore.
Yeah, you didn't even have to pay for the shipping fee.
Nope, I did not have to pay for the shipping fee.
Classy Twins. And then the stick above, that's yours too?
Yeah, the NHL gives a stick to GMs who record 1,000 games, and then they honor you at the annual GM meeting in December, or in March rather, in Boca Raton. And so I went down there and got the silver stick last year along with Neil Smith, who was also honored at that dinner. So it's great. And
then there was one other thing before we started taping that I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Well,
it's not the real thing, folks, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, everyone on the team, everyone whose name gets on the cup gets a miniature Stanley Cup for their home. So very proud of that. My players and my coaches did a great job.
Do you keep much memorabilia?
I've collected some stuff over the years for my kids, not so much for me, but yeah, I've got some stuff, and it's in storage. It's not in the house, but I've got a few things. But yeah, over the years, I got some interesting stuff over the years. I've had some great players. Yeah. I've been blessed that I've had some great players. So you get Chris Pronger stick or a Mark Messier stick, some Pavel Bure, some of the guys who played for me over the years. So put the odd thing away for my kids. Nothing, not spectacular.
What's your favorite?
This from the Twins.
Yeah.
That's mainly because it was unsolicited. It's one thing you ask Mark Messier to sign a stick, right?
Yeah.
But when this comes in the mail, and I didn't ask them for it, I thought it was very nice. But that's what those kids are like. They've been like that since the day they were drafted. They're very unselfish. They're very humble, and this didn't surprise me. I didn't expect it, but that's what they do.
Like all of us during quarantine, we're ordering so much online. We don't know what's coming to the door. What have you been up to other than talking about the hypotheticals of hockey?
Well, I've been working 5 days a week, so that helps. It helps
Yeah.
a lot. I'd be going crazy if it weren't for that. And then finishing my book, which will come out in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So actually doing a fair amount of work on that as well, and trying to spend time with my daughters when I have them here. So it's been trying. I'm not good at sitting around.
No, not many of us are, especially in our industry. That's why we like to talk so much. Well, Brian, I really appreciate the time. All the best to you and your family.
My pleasure. Same back.
Thanks for watching Hockey Central at Home, everyone.